This program is brought to you by Harvey Norman. For everything you need in furniture, bedding, electrical and technology.
Welcome back to Balgowlah. Now, we've got some special people for you to meet, including somebody who has got an incredible series of achievements behind her, but what is in front of her is going to be amazing. I've got to say, the good people of Harvey Norman are the reason we have been able to do Our Town for as long as we have. Their brand new store, well, it's been around for a long time, but the new version of the store that exists here in Balgowlah is the best I've seen in the country. If you ever have the opportunity to get down, have a look, please do so. It's worth the travel across town, or if you're in town, to check it out as well. Now, again, Harvey Norman is the reason why we've been able to travel the country and why we're in this specific region, because we've got a special person to meet, and it's a person who is going to win gold for Australia, no pressure, at the Paris Paralympic Games.
Winning an Olympic gold medal, it's not the tangible medal that you're most proud of, it's the lead up and the sacrifice and the choices and the process to get to that point. I mean, when I won in Tokyo, I was almost 21, but I'd say I'd been swimming since I was 7 years old.
Every day that we train, everything we do is geared towards the Paralympic Games. It's the pinnacle of our sport.
I wake up at 4:20 in the morning and I'll have my breakfast. Then I'll get driven down to training to start at 5 a.m. I train from 5 a.m. to 7 a.m.
Especially right now, since I'm in year 11, oh my goodness, you know, that's intense.
I was going through so many moments there. I just thought, is it worth it? Like, my body obviously just can't take it. So getting through those tough times was extremely difficult.
From childhood dreams to a world stage at the Olympics and Paralympics, representing Australia, they weren't born to be athletes. It took hard work and a life of sacrifice. But even these heroes don't get there alone. Behind their amazing athletic performances are an incredible team of coaches, schools, communities, and of course, very proud parents.
They're already under enormous pressure when either they're on the field or they're training from all of the external pressures that they're under. Now, what you've got to be very careful of is that at home you need to be a parent.
Jeff came to us and said, I want to be there, I want to be in the Olympics. I said, mate, they're only taking one from Australia. He said, it's going to be me.
Never stops.
Never stops. Even when she sleeps, she's still swimming.
You can't get there on your own. To be the best, you have to surround yourself with the best. And that's why our mates at Harvey Norman have made sure that they are the best. Here at the newly refurbished Harvey Norman in Balgowlah, they have everything you could possibly want in tech and electronics.
So the marathon was like a push all the way through the line.
You don't have to be an athlete at the top of their game like Paralympic champion Madison De Rozario. You can also be a TV host.
G'day, Madison. Thank you very much for the chat.
Of course.
All right, now, you're obviously somebody who is a high-performance athlete, but obviously wants to make the most of the technology that's around. How does it help?
In sport and everywhere across the board, I think we're seeing so much progression in sport, and so much of it is now becoming very tech-based. There's so much more that we can do and use than I think we ever used to.
What about nutrition? What are some of your go-tos?
Fueling an enormous training load, and so I think, you know, when it comes to that, it's that kind of, you need that planning, which is what I'm bad at. So I find having like a functional kitchen with everything that I need in it is the one thing that makes it so much easier.
Now, a little bit earlier you told me that, well, an air fryer might be what you need in your life. Now, I'm intrigued in this as a performance, as a performance tool, because as a man who likes the old oil fry, are you saying the difference between me and becoming a medalist could be an air fryer?
I think we're going to have to find out. I think you're up for an air fryer too, and then report back.
Madison is all types of awesome. She is at her best.
Madison De Rozario adds gold in the 8.
Our mates at Harvey Norman are at their best, and everyone is looking forward to a magnificent year of memories in Paris 2024.
I'm pleased to say Madison's here, along with Kate McLoughlin, who is from who's the chef de mission for our Paralympic team. Lovely to see you both. Always great watching yourself back on telly, isn't it?
Bizarre every time.
It's always great. That's great. Well, and when we were at the store the other day, they've got on loop your achievements. Are you the type of person who loves watching it, got a photo of everything, got a medal everywhere, or you've just got all the trophies under the bed?
No, I think you know this from you saw my face when you turned that corner and all the screens had the 800 from Tokyo on it. No, I haven't really watched that race back since Tokyo, so not particularly.
Well, you saw it on every possible screen at Harvey Norman and Balgowlah. Kate, give us an idea about some of the impediments that exist for people who may well have all of the focus like every other athlete, but they just don't connect into Paralympic programs.
Yeah, it's really tricky. There are so many different barriers for people to get into sport if you have a disability. And it's certainly something we're identifying now, lack of coaching staff, people understanding Paralympic sport, venues. The equipment's very expensive as well. Look at the chair that Maddie races in. Ridiculously expensive, isn't it? So there's lots of barriers, but it's something we need to focus on to make sure that we can increase the number of people.
How do you handle pressure? Because one of the things about the Paralympic team is that it's been so wildly successful over the years, right? And the assumption is, lazily amongst Australians, oh, yeah, well, quadruple the Olympic count, that's what's going to happen at the Paralympics, but for obvious reasons, effort required. How do you handle that pressure of expectation, that when you've been successful, you look like somebody who is on track for good performance? Do you put it out of your mind? How do you deal with that expectations?
I do think it needs to be almost entirely intrinsic. I think there is so much external pressure to perform a certain way and be a certain kind of athlete. And the reality is, I think if you turn up thinking you're able to do that, you're almost setting yourself up for disaster. I think it's almost arrogant. When I line up on a start line at a Paralympic Games, I'm lining up next to 15 other women who are just as good as I am, and I've been an underdog before, and so I know what it feels like to win a race no one expects of you, and I would never discount any athlete on that line to the same thing. And I think that you turn up, every race exists in a vacuum. You race the race in front of you, and that's what you can do. So
forgive me getting you to repeat a story, but I've got to ask, right, which is when you are in a 40-kilometre race, what starts to hurt at what point in 40 Ks?
Yeah, so for myself, it's the position of the race chair that becomes the most painful. I think it's such an awkward position. We saw it on the screen just now. You're really down. You're cramped in something that you wouldn't normally find yourself in. And so I find that my stabilising muscles, like my ability to stay in that position from a really strong perspective, gives out more than my active movement muscles. We train them so well, and that's the key focus. But you kind of there's so much more that goes into it. And
but when we're watching you at 30 Ks, like obviously everything, but your back, your shoulder, your neck, what is just killing?
My soul, man. Like it's that point of the race, it's purely mental at that point. I think physically, you're going to hit a wall. It's gonna hurt. You're gonna, be giving everything and having nothing left to give, but still having to find something every single time. And that never goes away. And I think what divides a Paralympic field in that final isn't who's physically the most prepared, because we're all exactly as prepared as each other. It's how you turn up. At that 37-kilometre mark, how do you get to this last 5 kilometres?
Look, as a prime athlete, I feel that every day. I understand. Now, also, Kate, give us an idea about what it's like to work with these athletes, because amazing people, but also high demand, high performance. What's it like?
Oh, I pinch myself every day. They're amazing. To see them compete, and often you have really tricky weeks. In the lead up to a Games, you've got 156 days to go. It's busy. But to go to a training session or to see an athlete compete and qualify, that's what reminds you why you do what you do. To see them on the world stage representing our country so brilliantly, it's pretty special.
Balgowlah, give them a round of applause. Go kick ass. Do your best in Paris. Thank you guys for doing Australia proud. Really do appreciate it. Thanks again to our good mates at Harvey Norman for supporting that team.